Okay, so
It is in presenter mode, just so you know.
okay.
There you go.
Alrighty. So we are a budgeting, forecasting, and reporting solution originally built for GP. We have now expanded into Acumatica, Sage Intacct, Oracle NetSuite, and to Business Central. So I want to give you the confidence that you can invest now in the GP platform, and if you have any plans to migrate in the future to other cloud ERPs, you can take us with you. What we want to focus on is that budgeting is, you see a lot of trends taking place in the marketplace about embracing AI and using AI tools to trend your financials and to model out your future behavior. The problem we see with that is that your managers are the ones spending, not the AI agents. And your managers, the human factor is unpredictable. We want them to be involved in the process. We want them to set the budget so we can hold them accountable for what they spend. When you talk to a lot of operating managers, when you've got a top-down budgeting approach, they kind of blame it on corporate. Oh, those were corporate's targets they sent to us. They were out of date when they issued it in October, and by the time we started the plan in January, they were meaningless. Well, we want them to put in their details, how much they're going to spend in which month and for what purpose. So it's really, we're trying to get this back down to a people-based approach. A lot of our customers will come up to us and tell us, hey, Zubin, stop. We have non-technical, non-financial. And I said, oh, yeah, you mean you've got end users who are incredibly gifted at breaking Excel? Yes, that's what our problem is. We work with folks like your marketing manager who is trying to ask where are the project codes for this and how's that relate to in a corporate accounting code. Everyone's got a Steve who's incredibly gifted at touching and breaking anything technical that you give him. And we just kind of try to deal with people from all walks of life. So we work with organizations across all types of industries, professional sports, healthcare, long-term care. About 40% of our customers are not-for-profit or industry associations, government agencies, universities, higher ed, a lot of people, a lot of different backgrounds. I've covered this, that you can take us with you to your new platforms, but really what we're trying to do is focus on the continuous improvement cycle. We don't want you to just use this budget tool once a year, dust it off next year, and regenerate that corporate budget. We want you to plan and tell us how much, for what purpose, in which month. We want the users to come in and use this for a variance reporting tool month over month. Why were they over or under this month? Can they recover by the end of the year? And next year, should they do something different? They can look at a reforecast and kind of give corporate a heads up as to how much has remained to spend in their own department and give the organization a heads up as to what the profitability looks like by end of year. What sets us apart? We again, our genesis was from GP. We can install the application up and running, fully configured in 90 minutes. Our customers typically go live in about 5 to 10 hours of setup. Some of our competitors will quote you 100 to 200 hours for a CPM suite with data warehousing and all that. We're focused as a budgeting tool. So much faster implementation. We have an unlimited user license, so we price the base product based on the size of the organization. But if you had 10 people involved in budgeting and another 30 people who could use this as a reporting tool, the more the merrier. We want to encourage people to use this and look at their application, at their financials. I'm going to jump into the product here. Um, so typically, we're going to start the user experience off in a data entry screen. And we have multiple entry points into the product. Some are simpler, some could be a direct data entry screen on here. This could have been 12 months, you could enter your values. But typically what we want to do is encourage them to drill down into the account and tell us how much they're spending for what purpose. This could have been set up with a couple of years of actuals, a couple of years of forecasts, comparisons, and such. I can drill down into my rent expense, and then I could enter in my details for this account. So we could enter the details. The bottom half of the screen shows your prior year spend. You can drill down in if you want to know why you spent $2,700 last January. You can actually click into that and see the transaction details coming straight through. Now, I wanted to kind of walk through the experience of an end user. So a couple things point out, a little bit of a tip of the hat to David from Winthrop Development Consultants. They'll be walking through GP Power Tools a little bit later. We stole some concepts from him. You can actually color code the top of your screen. So I've got green for production. I could have had yellow for test. We looked at a functionality that allows you to impersonate another user. We can come over here and click in here and launch a whole another version of our application. We're going to color code this second version of the app in red to let you know that we're impersonating another user. I'm going to minimize this screen so I can kind of focus on this. In here, I might have a variance report. I had the ability to run for my department 100. I could look at this and I could question why I spent, how much I spent in which month. Now, some of our competitors give you the ability to automatically generate AI-based notes and let you know that you were this dollar value and this percentage over under from plan. But the problem we see with that is that if you click into the rent expense, and GP is a little bit more notorious for this, that we don't necessarily have good purchase descriptions in our systems. So if I were to, my pop-up screen disappeared here somewhere. Dun, dun, dun. When we click on our variance, we bring you up a split screen. We're showing the transaction details in the upper half of the screen and the full year budget in the bottom half of the screen. Ideally, the end user could look in here and determine whether or not they were over under. Was this a planned expenditure, unplanned expense? Was this a timing difference, or do we have miscellaneous transactions that got miscoded in here? Here's something that says airfare, but it just has a transaction description and purchase. I have a rent expense for January, but I have no further details. So if we were trying to look at this, if we had a rent for 4/1 and 4/2, how do I know if that was inside of this transaction? If I was just looking at a raw dollar variance, I might have more context in here that's in the manager's head. We want them to come back in here, click into the note, and give an explanation as to why they were over under for the month. I was under budget for the month. Originally going to rent for 2 starting in January. Have postponed till April. So we're going to have cost savings for the remainder of the year. I've got 3 months cost savings. Next year, go ahead and budget for full 12 months. If I submit that comment, next time I go to budget this account, I'm going to see those notes at the bottom of the screen. So when we do the primary budget, we review our performance month over month. If we make those comments in the system, those comments are now here at the bottom of the screen to help me guide my decisions next time I do a forecast or next time I do a budget. Hope that makes sense to everyone. So we tried to dumb this down, keep it really simple for the end users. If they want to spruce this up and show a department profitability formatting on here, they could come in here and turn on some formats. So if they want to pretty this up, they could look at their cost categories, their total profitability, or they just want to analyze the raw numbers, they could have looked at the raw numbers. So I'm going to close the end user experience here and show you a little bit of the higher end functionality in the program. So we had started off with a data entry experience. The reports can be run at full company. I could have run this from a company perspective and looked at my top level categories across the entire company, Or I could have changed the formatting on the fly without having to rerun the report and look at this from a department perspective. My G&A, ops, and sales divisions, my individual departments, drill down into my accounting, down to my cost categories, and eventually get down to my accounts. We do have a lot of permissions set up in here. So when I looked at my end user, I had granted them access to just a particular company and just one particular department with read and write permissions, access to confidential accounts such as payroll, but not at detail level. So they could see that there's 500,000 of salaries, but they didn't have the ability to drill down to details and see names and dollars. We do work with Power BI for advanced reporting. So if we want to look at our performance from a visual perspective, you can look at different year-over-year comparisons and such. If we wanted to look at this from a departmental perspective, I could switch around for my different departments. This would be role level security. I'm logged in as an administrator, so I have global access and the ability to switch between my different departments. End users typically would only be restricted to what they have access to. In addition to financial performance metrics with our visual reports, we've actually gone into some of the telemetry data, the usage of the application. So kind of monitoring who's active versus inactive users over the last 30 days, 60 days. This can all be configured. These are not the be-all, end-all reports, but just kind of a sampling of the types of things that we can put together on screen for you. What's interesting here is that we're trying to analyze within our different modules, the direct data entry, what we call the assumptions, or the custom worksheets, or the hourly staffing, or the payroll modules and such. Who's working in which modules? How much time have they spent in those modules? What's the wall of fame in terms of the most active users, or we could flip this around to the wall of shame, the least active users. Who has not logged in the last 90 days, and the fact that the budget is due next Friday, let's go hunt them down. We have a detailed payroll module. We've got 4 different payroll modules depending upon your industries: hourly staffing, salaried staffing, shift scheduling with shift differentials for healthcare and hospitality. We have about 11 different ways to calculate allocations, fixed, variable, and such. I want to talk a little bit about those that are transitioning in the future from GP to something else and talk about that process. We can data warehouse your entire GP history. We have customers who've gone over to Business Central or Intact, and what we did was we copied all of their financial history, including transaction drill downs, for 10, 20 years of data, and it copies over into our database in less than, say, 5 minutes. So we can bring your entire history over, and then if I'm setting up, say, my Business Central company, I might have a new structure that's a 2-digit, 3-digit alpha, 5-digit expense code. My original GP Fabricam account structure was 3-digit department, 4-digit expense code, 2-digit sub account. I can take your mapping file from old accounts to new accounts and embed them in here. So in my BC accounts, I've mapped my GP old accounts. So if your staff need help bridging that transition, they could run a report for Business Central and look back at your historical actuals that have been imported in, or if we had imported them in on your behalf. They can run a report, and if they're not familiar with the BC count codes, these 3-digit alphas in the middle don't look familiar, well, let's turn this back on to the GP account codes. Oh yeah, I remember 4142, that's my income for product sales. Well, this is the new GP or the BC equivalent, but that's my old familiar code from GP. So we can do some very interesting things for those that are migrating from old to new and help them bridge that gap. We do have traditional reports as well, similar to Management Reporter. If you come over here, we'll bring up a sample custom report where we can build out specific rows and columns. We pride ourselves on being a budgeting tool with just enough reporting to make it convenient that you don't have to drop out of our application to run some reports to get your perspective. Not necessarily trying to promise that we're generating board level financials. It has the same content, rows and columns perspectives, roll-ups. If I wanted to drill down onto an account roll-up for sales that was comprised of multiple accounts, I could drill down into the individual accounts and see the transactions for those accounts. So full drill down capabilities in here, not necessarily as fancy as some external reporting tools, but you've got the same functionality inside of the budgeting tool that you don't have to leave. So with that, we'll just kind of scratch the surface. I'm kind of the Energizer bunny and can keep going and going and going, but we're more than happy to arrange a demo for you and do a deep dive demo and talk about your particular use cases. Again, if you're interested in what you saw here, we can do a demo, and we can also set you up with a free trial and let you play with the application for 30 days. It's very quick and easy to set up. We just need about 15 minutes of time with your IT team to get the system up and running. Thanks very much.